Good morning, I'm Adam Sexton. This pandemic has prompted a lot of tough decisions. One of them facing parents right now concerns vaccination for their kids. Pfizer is seeking authorization from the FDA for shots to be given to children as young as age 2, and approval for Pfizer shots for ages 12 to 15 is imminent, according to some reports. Here to take us through this choice is Dr. Christine Arsenault, a pediatrician and vice president of the New Hampshire chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. Doctor, thank you for connecting with us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Adam.
So, Doctor, how should parents approach this question of vaccinating their age-eligible kids for COVID-19?
This is a personal decision that each family should make for themselves. I am recommending that my patients be vaccinated if they are eligible, when they are eligible, and I look forward to vaccinating my own 2 small children when they are eligible and when it is safe to do so. Many experts at the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics also recommend vaccination for eligible children. The past year has been, as you mentioned, very stressful for all of us. Children and parents have experienced periods of anxiety, fear, just when is this going to end? And getting vaccinated is one of the few actionable steps we can take to help families, to help children return to normalcy. It will, from a practical standpoint, help children to stay in school if they are exposed to a child who has COVID. It will help restore normal gatherings with friends and families. And for this reason, we recommend that all children receive the vaccine when they are safe and eligible for it.
And I think the question facing a lot of parents, and I'm sure you've heard this already from them, what are the risks associated, if any, with a child receiving the vaccine?
So the risks that we have seen among young folks are similar to those that older or adults have experienced, which are sort of flu-like symptoms, pain at the injection site, fever, fatigue, headache, all manageable, though uncomfortable symptoms. Rare cases of anaphylaxis have occurred in adults receiving the vaccine, and for this reason, it is recommended that people wait for 15 to 30 minutes after the vaccine for close observation. All of these side effects are manageable and treatable.
And we know that the applications are going in for Pfizer to lower the age eligibility farther down the ladder there. Is there a sense of when we might see those, down to 2-year-olds made available to the vaccine?
Yes, Adam, as you mentioned, for ages 12 to 15, approval is imminent. I think Dr. Fauci said within days, several days ago. So pediatric practices across the state and across the country are preparing for this. We're trying to make sure that we have the appropriate storage and the appropriate staff for data entry for these vaccines so that parents can easily get these vaccines at their pediatrician's office. For children's ages 2 to 11, approval is being sought by the Pfizer team for the fall, which will hopefully make transition to the 2021-22 school year much easier. And then for children ages 6 months to 2 years, Pfizer hopes to have approval by the end of 2021, which I think will be wonderful for families with those smaller children. My own children are 1 and 3, so I'm looking forward to that.
Now, I hear from some people who express fears that an mRNA-based vaccine can somehow interfere with their own DNA, and of course that concern becomes even more amplified when it comes to children. But how do you combat the misinformation and disinformation that's out there about vaccines?
Yes, we, as pediatricians, one of the things I love about my job is that all parents want what is best for their children. So, whatever questions they come to me are with their children's health and best interest in mind. The question about the M-RNA specifically, I think there are 2 ways to think of it. One way to think of it is that the process of, when in biochemistry, DNA makes RNA, makes a protein, and it doesn't go backwards. So mRNA will not affect DNA. Another way to think of it that I have heard is that DNA is contained within the nucleus of a cell, whereas mRNA only can exist in the cytoplasm around the nucleus. the mRNA provided by the vaccine degrades within 2 or 3 days of injection. So it sort of just floats around in the cytoplasm of the cell while the DNA remains in the nucleus, and the two really don't interact. I just wanted to, if I may, Adam, just address one other rumor that we have heard. We get calls from families, concerned parents just wanting to make the right decision for their children about the vaccine potentially impacting fertility later on in women and girls. This myth or rumor is based on a person who found a very subtle similarity in the proteins of the COVID spike, which the vaccine targets, and some proteins in the human placenta. However, that very subtle similarity has no bearing on whether this vaccine, essentially these myths are completely unfounded and have been debunked by numerous experts, including those in the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, the CDC. So parents do not need to worry about their daughters having any effect on their fertility when they get the COVID vaccine.
Interesting. And, you've got this entire situation going on around that vaccine and COVID-19, and as you mentioned, the stress and all of that. But parallel to that, pediatricians, I've heard, are also seeing an issue with all of the rest of the vaccines that children are supposed to receive. What's going on right now in terms of the uptake with those vaccines?
Yes, Adam. So in the past 14 months, we've seen numerous socioeconomic effects from the pandemic, and one of those effects has been missed visits to the pediatrician. So children have missed over 11 million doses of vaccines in the past year or so. These are vaccines for routine illnesses that are routinely vaccinated against, such as measles, chicken pox. And missing these vaccines does pose, unfortunately, a real risk for an outbreak from one of these vaccine-preventable illnesses. We strongly encourage families to make up these missed visits, to reach out to their pediatrics office if they have any concerns whatsoever, and to make sure that their children are caught up with routine health care that they may have missed out during the pandemic.
As a pediatrician, do you worry sometimes about the confluence here of, the anti-vaccination movement and what's gone on with the COVID-19 vaccine, that it somehow brings these things together and amplifies, as we said, some of the misinformation and disinformation?
Absolutely. We always want to encourage our families to ask us questions if they feel uncomfortable. Like I said before, one of the things that drew me to the field of pediatrics was that no matter what similarities I may have with a parent, we share the best interest of their child as a goal. And so any rumors or myths that a person might hear online, we encourage you to speak to your pediatrician about them. We are happy to talk to you. I also wanted to give a plug for a couple of websites. The Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, or CHOP as it's abbreviated, has an excellent vaccine education center that I always encourage my families to go to. And there are some great videos, lots of information about all vaccines, including the COVID vaccine. Also, healthychildren.org, which is the AAP's website, is a great resource for a lot of parenting topics and does have some information about various vaccines. I think all of us, the past year has been so hard on children and families. We've seen rising rates of anxiety and depression, missed work, missed school, and getting to the end of all of this, the light at the end of the tunnel is vaccination. So we really encourage all children to get the vaccine when they are eligible, and encourage the parents to reach out to their pediatrics office with any questions they may have.
I'm interested, when it comes to current cases, have you seen much of an increase in pediatric cases of COVID-19 now that most of the state and the school children are back in the classroom?
So this is interesting. In the past several weeks, there have been more reported cases nationwide. I think 22% of the cases reported in the past several weeks have been pediatric, compared to about 1 to 3% a year ago. However, it's hard to sort of tease out. A lot of this may be due to older people being vaccinated and so having lower rates in adults. I think we have seen, when our state had a slight uptick several weeks ago, we felt a little bit of that in the office. And as children return to more sports and activities, we have seen a little bit of an increase. The rates in schools where children are being compliant with mask wearing and social distancing, those are some of the most important things that we can do to reduce the risk of spread. Rates in schools themselves have not been a great source of spread. But like I said, some of the other activities where children may not be wearing masks or engaging in social distancing do pose that risk. We've also definitely seen a little bit of COVID fatigue, and believe me, I feel it and I understand. And so sometimes this spring, we have seen families have, a gathering of multiple unmasked children inside, which can wind up with some spread of the illness.
All right, Dr. Christine Arsenault, we thank you for sharing your perspective and your expertise this morning on Close Up.
Thank you, Adam.